Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about our boy, Chuck Wendig. How a Star Wars writer's tweets got him fired by Marvel, written by the Washington Post, with the undersection, Democracy Dies in Darkness. This publication is truly amazing. Oh, we're news. We are without any bias whatsoever. We just report what's true, and we just report the facts. But this is democracy dying in darkness, and Chuck Wendig is a victim of all of this. But let's actually dive into it. Oh, look at that man! Look at that beast right there. Man, I feel so bad. Once again, I feel so bad for that beard. That is an amazing beard. It sucks that that beard has to be attached to this knucklehead troglodyte, but unfortunately, that is where we are. But let's dive into this article by Michael Kavna. He says, I love that. Just 2 weekends ago, Chuck Wendig was on stage at New York Comic-Con, proudly helping Marvel Entertainment announce the new Star Wars comic book series he was writing, Shadow of Vader. Not anymore! Since that unveiling, however, the best-selling author, of course, the best-selling author, has been fired by Marvel for social media use. I'm still not quite sure why that is the case. Why is it that he was fired by Marvel? I understand that he was at an event for Marvel, but why is Star Wars being promoted at a Marvel event, and why is he being fired by Marvel when this should be under Lucasfilm or possibly even the broader Disney umbrella? I'm kind of confused by that. I guess since Disney has taken over, now Marvel Comics has now taken over Star Wars Comics. I'm assuming that is what has happened. Again, I'm not a comics book guy, so this is just me on the fly trying to figure out what this actually means, but it is still confusing nonetheless because he's still writing Star Wars books, or at least he was. Received threats serious enough. So he'd been fired for his social media use, received threats serious enough that he says he required a police escort in public. Okay, this is where you start off right there. He says he required a police escort. I don't know any person on the internet, I don't know any person that's a part of our community who has ever called for any violence against Chuck Wendig whatsoever. In fact, none of us have even called for people, oh, go up and get into his face. You want to know why? Because that's an NPC tactic. That is a far leftist mob mentality NPC SJW tactic that we are just not a part of. Now, if I ran into him, I'd say, oh, hey, Am I a racist? Like, I would, if I was seeing him in public, I would call him out, have a discussion on it, because it's one thing to say, to put a rant on Twitter and then block the people that you claim to have disagreement with, than to actually, talk to them in person. But that would not be getting in his face. That would not be causing any sense of violence against him. So he claims that he needed. I would love to see, reports of this. I would love to see any kind of evidence whatsoever, because, again, I just don't know what kind of threats that he would have received. Again, are there probably a couple of people online who probably sent death threats? Probably. Again, I think every single person online in the history of ever has received at least one death threat in their life, even before I got on Twitter. At one of my old jobs, I used to work at a movie theater. I was on the phone with someone who said that they could see me and that they were going to kill me. So even I at that job, not even on social media, has received death threats before. So I understand that, because it's happened to me. And I understand it can be very scary, especially when someone says, I'm staring right at you, here's what you're wearing, and here's what I expect you to do. It's another thing for someone online, because I'm assuming that's where it happened, for someone online on Twitter to send out a quick tweet. Like, to me, it's a very different situation. Again, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not trying to defend that person. But to try and say that the severity of it, or to take it seriously when it's a random tweet on Twitter, I'm not sure I would. But that all being said, I question whether or not this is actually happening. But if it did happen, I do not condone it at all, because no one, not one of us, not one person in the Phantom Menace would actually want any harm, any physical harm, to come to Mr. Chuck Wendig, because we don't believe in that. We do not want people to be attacked. We do not believe in crazy mobs. We like discussion. We like having dialogue. We like bringing forth our ideas, because guess what? We actually believe in diversity of ideas. Unlike the NPCs. Again, the NPCs like to stay on the party line. I am an NPC. I cannot think for myself. That is the NPC SJW line. But we, on the other hand, care more about different thoughts. That's the reason why I cannot like the prequels, and yet I can have people who are same side of me with a lot of things and say, no, the prequels are great. What are you talking about? What you smoking? Like, I can have someone have that conversation with me. Same thing with also The Force Awakens. There are several people who hated it the first time. I said, you know what, I liked it. And we can have that disagreement. We can have that discussion, and in a civil tone and in a civil way. Something that NPCs could really learn how to use. But, of course, Shadow of the Empire has disappeared from Marvel's 2019 release schedule, which not really surprised by, seeing that his comments have been quite disgusting. And what I absolutely love of all of this is how he tries to compare this to so many other things that have no business being talked about. It all began, and of course it says right before that, it says, this caught Wendig by surprise. I don't know why it would. It all began October 6th when Wendig unleashed a tweet storm. I love that word. Oh, because that's what it was a tweet storm about Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh. That's where it all began. It began long before then, but that was the breaking point. Like, let's just, to bring a little intellectual honesty back to this discussion really quick, this is not where it all began. It began long before that. Chuck Wendig has been going off on tangents and rants for a very long time. You can even say, for the last 2 years, ever since Donald Trump got elected, but I would say that you could probably find back things that date back even further than that, but he's been going crazy for a long time. This was just the breaking point. So again, let's just be honest, that's not where it all began, but it's definitely where the beginning of the end started. Like, let's just be a little bit more on the nose with that. There will be renewed calls for civility. Ignore them, the author said in protest urging tweet that was shared nearly 18,000 times. It's like the person writing the article is trying to say, oh, yeah, see, this makes sense. Oh, that's all he did. All he did was say not to be civil. That's all he did. Not even showing the worst things. Not even showing the worst things that this guy said. It's ridiculous. Wendig proceeded to use profanity when referring to Kavanaugh, President Trump, and Republican leadership, saying that they have shamed victims and have dismantled democracy. Yeah, I love how you picked like the most timid things he said. He also called everyone who is in support of these people, every single one of them, racist, sexist, pigs, like, you name it. Any negative name that to the nth degree that you can think of, he used to talk about an entire group of people. Like, again, Washington Post, where is your credibility? Because it obviously has flown away long time ago. By the next day, his political tweets were drawing blowback from well-known conservative figures. Ooh, there it is, the conservative backlash, including the Oscar-nominated actor James Wood, who was mistreated by Twitter, let's be honest. I mean, James Wood got turned off from Twitter, or got blocked from his Twitter for a short time. I don't think Chuck Wendig has ever had that happen to him. I wonder why. Oh, no, it could possibly be because of the algorithm. Yeah, Twitter, we know what you're up to. We know it's not this algorithm nonsense. We know that you censor certain types of speech and you don't censor other types of speech. You know what? At least be honest about it. You are a private company, so I personally, though, within my own personal view, I have a problem with it. But as far as me thinking you have the right to do it as a company, I'm all there. But you have to at least be honest about it. You have to at least be upfront saying, hey, we are not pro-conservative views, and so if you try and put them out there, we're going to block them. We're not going to allow them to be said. Because at that point, we'll say, great, now we know we're not welcome here, and now we have to find another path forward, or it's going to make us even more cynical to say, what are some ways we can get behind this supposed algorithm? At least to make it fun for us. But be honest with yourself. Like, seriously, at least be honest. That's what most of us even ask for. And last Friday, he tweeted that Marvel editor Mark Paniccia had fired him for those tweets. Again, he did not actually list the terrible tweets that this man had said and some of the terrible things that he had said as well. Oh boy. So, a lot about his book, but it's just still not to the best part. It's still not to the absolute best part of this entire thing. The thing that really bothers me to the core. So it keeps on going on about how people are supporting him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, we have this amazing tweet from the Mary Sue, the all-powerful Mary Sue, which is one of the most racist and sexist organizations on the planet. I mean, I'm sorry, read any of their articles, and you'll see what I mean. Obviously, oh, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. Only one side can be racist and sexist. Oh, get over yourselves. And Mary Sue says, bots probably helped get Chuck Wendig fired because Twitter is a cesspool. Yes, Twitter is the cesspool. Yes. The same Twitter that blocks and censors conservative speech for the most part and lets people like the Mary Sue and Chuck Wendig just go off on the rails all they want. Yeah, that's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. You wouldn't actually attack the Twitter CEO. You really wouldn't, because you know that they help you. You know that they protect your speech. Like, let's just be honest about that. But yeah, it's all the bots. Oh my gosh, it's a Russian bots. Hello, comrades. Hello, everybody. My name is Odin's Movie Blog, and we have been discovered once again. Odinsky here is not Russian. I mean, I'm sorry, it's like, Mary Sue, get over yourselves. All right, in the current socio-political climate, Wendig says he sees just how cumulative online forces can spark such boil over. In his case, he points to online movements like Comicsgate and Gamergate, plus other conservative movements and current administration. Yes, because that's the problem. Conservative movements are the problem. It has nothing to do with the fact that all these people are trying to do is say, hey, there is no diversity of thought. Here is our evidence as to why there is no diversity of thought, and here's what we want to do about it. Like, let's just break it down and let's make it the most simplest thing we possibly can. The whole thing with Comics and Gamersgate, it's not some alt-right conspiracy theory. It's not some, you know, anti-diversity movement. Instead, it's, hey, there's no diversity of thought. Again, because there's multiple types of diversity in this world. Again, NPCs, there are. You know, try and put some diversity of thought in your own mind. And all that they're trying to do is trying to say there's no diversity of thought. And this is a problem. If we can't have a discussion, if I get fired because I hold a certain political view, that's a problem. That is a major problem. And that's all that people like Ethan Van Sciver, who they have quoted here, Comics Artist Pro Secrets, good man. Again, just attacking him. All right, here it is right here. Here is the bread and butter. Added Wendig. I think this overall thing is still moving towards a cultural moment. Some crescendo we can't yet see. As for his own tweets, that call for uncivil protests against Washington, I think the civil disobedience of the 60s and 70s is now treated as uncivil. Protest is thought to be an ugly thing, and legislation across our several presidents has worked to undo the bonds of righteous protest. For me, when I talk about a lack of civility, I mean that we shouldn't be shamed for being angry, for using vulgar words, or for standing up and being counted to make our voices heard. This right here. He is making comparison, and he might say, oh no, that's not what I'm saying at all. He's just putting words in my mouth. Chuck Wendig, at this point, is trying to compare the riots and the protests, most of them were protests, of the 60s and 70s, fighting for racial equality, fighting for something actually good and sensible, fighting for racial equality, and just comparing that to his Twitter rants. He is comparing civil rights to his Twitter rants. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You honestly think that the reason why you got fired is because you are just a new age civil rights activist? Is that what you honestly think, Chuck? Do you honestly think do you think so highly of yourself that you honestly think that you are anything like Martin Luther King? Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? You probably. And again, I feel for your beard, but guys, this is really where I want to end, because I honestly remember, because you know, sometimes I don't read the articles at all. Sometimes when I'm at work and I see certain things when I'm off and I'm able to just kind of, you know, skim them for a second. I saw this section, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, like, this guy is truly off his rocker. But the Washington Post, guess what they're doing? They're just acting like, oh, you know, it's fine. Oh, no, he absolutely is right. I mean, this is absolutely, like, not challenging him at all. Putting the best parts of his comments, putting the most civil parts of his comments out there, and trying to act like Chuck Wendig is some kind of commonsensical civil guy when he is anything but that. Go for yourself. They are all over the place. Go find the screenshots yourself. Again, I would show them to you, but at the end of the day, I don't like showing his disgusting comments on here because of just how bad they are. Go look at them for yourself. This is a guy who got fired because not only is he an ass, but also because he's very inappropriate, and Disney has certain standards. The same reason why James Gunn got fired for his comments, even though they were from 10 years ago. Still, they hold themselves to a higher standard. Now, do they do that well? I think that's up for debate, but in this situation, absolutely, I could see why they would fire this guy. But this, to me, is just the crux of all of it. The fact that this guy is, again, comparing civil disobedience of the 60s and 70s, again, when people were fighting for civil rights, when he is going to compare that to Twitter and to Twitter rants and to getting in people's faces, trying to tear down the walls of the Supreme Court, to actual riot mob mentality. You're going to try and compare what's going on right now in D.C., in Portland, Oregon, and try and say, oh no, this is just like the 60s and 70s and people just don't like, you know, incivility anymore. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that this message, there's no reason to be doing these things. No one, even when you go back to the Civil Rights Movement, guess what they did? It was peaceful protest. They were not getting in people's faces. They were not screaming in people's faces. They were not trying to tear doors down, because they understood, people like Martin Luther King Jr. understood that that's not how you get your message across. That is not how you win the debate. You win the debate by being the better person. You win the debate by being above all that nonsense. So for Chuck Wendig to try and compare himself and everything going on in the culture today as being equivalent to the 60s and 70s is just downright disgusting and despicable. So guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on that and anything else that Chuck Wendig says in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It really does help me a lot. You are all amazing people. But before I go, I want you to stay just for a quick second, and in my quick handy dandy editing, I'm going to come back with an amazing item, and I think every single one of you is going to want it. So 3, 2, 1. Alright, so that was probably the best editing I've ever done. But guys, I found it. It exists, and I cannot wait to wear it tomorrow. We have found the ultimate Chuck Wendig shirt. That's correct. It says, If you're not blocked by Chuck Wendig, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, Chuck tried to get these banned. Chuck tried to say, oh no, you're using my image. Oh no, you're using my image. How dare you? And I found it, and it's amazing. I'm going to post a link to it if it's still out there, because it may have been taken down by the time this goes live. But I'm going to try and find it because, guys, this is a prized possession of mine now, because this is just absolutely amazing. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. And as always, God bless. Right, Chuck?